In this lesson, I'm going to show how you can set up a loop project from scratch in Ableton. So let's go ahead and get started. So when you first open up Ableton Live, you'll see this, which is just their default template for whenever you're making a new project. So some of these things we won't need for what we're doing today. So like this reverb and delay send, I won't need that. And since we're dealing with only audio clips today, we won't need these MIDI channels, so I'll go ahead and delete those. And I'll make these a little bit bigger since we'll be dealing with audio clips. I like to make everything, organized and clean before I start, so I can stay focused on what I need to do. So to make it even easier, let's just go ahead and make it one audio channel for what we're doing today, and then we can also make this master channel bigger. So say you wanted to make a loop project for your Sunday service or Wednesday service, and you wanted to make a loop for each song in your worship set. So normally there are 4 songs in a worship set, that's just the average. You could have more or less, but for today we'll say we have 4. So let's just make these scenes and bring them down to 4, so we can have a song in each scene. So say our first song has a tempo of 130. We'll go in and you can rename this by right clicking and going to rename, or Command R on a Mac, and you can just type in song 1. And so what I do when I go in these scenes and I put my songs on the side over here, I'll put the name of the song, whatever it is. Right now it's song 1, and then I'll put the BPM, so it'd be 130, and then I put BPM after that, and then whatever meter it's in, whether it be 4/4 or 6/8, those are the only, most of the time that's the 2 that you use, or 3/4, so I'll put 130 BPM, say it's 4/4. So now what happens whenever you click this launch button, this scene launch button, your click is going, your internal Ableton click right here is going to line up whenever you click that. So see, it changed to 130. And so once you have a clip right here, it'll play, but we don't have anything right there right now, so we'll get to that. And then say song 2 is 110 BPM. We'll put that in and say it's 4/4. Okay, that's song 2. And then song 3, we could say that's 85 BPM, and we'll say it's in 6/8. And then song 4, we'll say it's 70 BPM and it's 4/4. Okay, so that's the first thing I'll do, is I'll put all my songs in the scenes over here. So next up, we need to actually grab the loops that we want to fire whenever we hit these scene launch buttons. So first off, just to stay organized, I'm going to name this audio channel loops, since this is a loop project. And now I'll go and get some loops that I already have. This is assuming that you already have loops. Multi-tracks, you can buy some from there. They have great shakers or tambourines, those kind of loops. Or also you can get it from Loops by C-Dub, is another website. But this is just assuming that you already have some. So I'm going to go over here and just grab, actually before I do that, in order for my audio to warp, which is what it's called in Ableton, so it lines up with the internal click and it's the correct BPM, I've already done this, but I'll just say this right here, that you want to make sure you click the scene launch button of whatever song you're about to input the loop to, so the click is on that BPM, so when you bring it in, it'll automatically warp to that BPM, so you won't have to go in and warp it later. So I'll say that I bring out this loop right here, and so whenever I click this scene launch button, since I already had it fired, it should be warped automatically. So we'll click play, and there you go. So you'd be able to tell if it was not warped correctly, because the click would be all off. So say if it wasn't warped, it would sound like this. So obviously that's not right. So you can just go in and click warp again, and there's the correct tempo. Okay, so let's move on to song 2. So before I go and find the loop, I'm going to click this, so the click goes to 110, which is our next BPM. And so I'll just go in and I'll grab another, let's see what else I have, just bring that in. And so since I put in that BPM before, it should warp correctly. So, and there it is. And also, before I move on, I want to say when you're warping, depending how different the tempo is from the original tempo of the loop that you're bringing in, it may get to sound, pretty weird. So like say if it's a slower loop but you warp it to be really fast, it could sound kind of, or really slow, it has a really weird sound. So what you could do is, instead of it being, you can go down to this drop down, and instead of it being on beats, it's the different warp modes. You can put it on Complex Pro, and that makes everything smoother. You probably wouldn't bring it down that low, but it makes it sound like it was actually recorded at that tempo. So I always put it on Complex Pro, so everything sounds smooth and that it was made at that tempo. So I'll do that for that loop and this one as well. So now I have song 1 and then song 2, and by hitting this scene launch, it changes the BPM, like I said. So you don't have to worry about going in and changing the BPM here before you hit 1. You just click this launch button and you're good to go. So now for song 3, I'll click the scene launch first so the metronome changes, and then I'll go find another loop. Let me bring in a 6/8 one. So it should have warped automatically, and then you click play, and there you go. Okay, so finally we're going to bring in song 4, and we're going to hit the scene launch first to make sure our tempo changes to that, and then we're just going to bring in, let's just bring in one of the same loops we already did, and by clicking the scene launch, it should warp automatically. So we'll click it, so you can hear that it sounds kind of warpy and weird. So you can go in and go to Complex Pro, and it makes it sound a little better. I wouldn't normally bring that loop down that low, but okay, so now that we have all of those in there, just a few things to make running these loops easier. You can go in to press this button key, and instead of having to run around, like say you're running it in a service and you're playing keyboard or drums or whatever, instead of having to get on your mouse or your trackpad and go to this and then click it, the way I set it up is I'll hit key, and then for this first scene launch button, this is keying it to the number 1 on my keypad. So you click it and then you press whatever you want to map that button to. So I'll click 1 on my keyboard or my keypad, and now so whenever I click 1, it fires that. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4 for each song on my keypad. And so now I don't have to worry about going through and actually clicking on each one. I can just go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so this changes meter and BPM each time that I do that. So it's very, very convenient that you don't have to go around and change a bunch of things. Ableton is very nice about it's user friendly for sure. So next, to stay organized, I'll make all these one color. You can do whatever color you want. I'll just do that one for now. So I just like everything to look nice and work nice at the same time as well. And then for each of these loops, you never know how long you'll do a song for, or if you'll need it the whole time, or if you need more. So what I do is, these, say like this loop is 7 minutes and 18 seconds. Well, say I want to go longer, and I'm not sure how long we'll be going, so I'll zoom in, and what I do is I'll just loop it. So to do this, let me start over. You'll double click on the actual audio clip, and it'll bring up this where you can look at the clip, and you can zoom in, and then just press loop, and it should, you know, do like the first measure or two. So now that you have that, you can click play, and you'll see this right here. It starts over every measure. So I'll usually do that, and I'll go through each song and do that. So I'll zoom in on this one and just make sure that this loop bar is at least a measure apart. Sometimes it can be like this, but you want to make sure it's not on top of one another, and it'll be like a measure or two apart so that it's actually looping that measure. So I'll hit loop again, and it blacks out all of this. Sorry, I'm still on song 2. And then and there you go. So it's looping, and then I'll do that for these as well. Zoom in, do about a measure, then loop. Still on song 2. Here we go, song 3. See, so I didn't make that one long enough, so I'll go in and make sure it is at least a measure 2. And then start it over. Okay, and we'll do it for this last one. Hit song 4. Okay, so I hit loop. And there we go. So we've made them all to where they loop, so you won't have to be starting one over or, you know, doing all that. So this is how I set up my basic Ableton loop projects, and I hope this information helped you a ton.